Thank you for joining us on this special edition of WFBNN. As we honor our veterans for their honorable service. This is Flowery Branch News Network.
Hello, I'm Kyra Isaacs. Today on our special WFBNN News broadcast, we will be honoring our veterans. Here at the branch, we make sure that their honorable service never goes unrecognized. I'll be speaking with 5 of our staff members who have served our country and talk to them about what it means to be a veteran. Hello, Major Mag.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good to be here.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
Was not drafted and I didn't really enlist. I joined the Air Force when I had already completed college, and I went into the Air Force in what we call officer training school, which was basic training for officers. It lasted 14 weeks, and I became an officer and joined the Air Force that way.
What was your job or assignment?
I actually had several different jobs and assignments over my 20 years of service. I started out in a fighter squadron where I was the administration and personnel officer in charge of all the commander's programs and things to take care of over 200 airmen and officers. I then went to what we call command and control, where I worked in a command post that was a 24/7 operation. We had to take care of or coordinate the maintenance of all aircraft transiting Latin America through Howard Air Force Base in Panama, and moving passengers and cargo throughout the entire region. I also got to go to school for a year and a half, after which I taught history at the U.S. Air Force Academy for 4 years, which was one of my favorite assignments, in teaching cadets at the Air Force Academy. Also worked at the Pentagon for 3 years in Latin American international affairs, working with our sister air forces throughout Latin America, in fact the entire Western Hemisphere, including Canada. And after that I went back to Arizona and worked at Air Forces Southern, doing, again, international affairs, taking security assistance teams down throughout Latin America, doing a lot of traveling, and that was a lot of fun.
Thank you for joining us and sharing us your story.
Thanks.
Appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Up next, I will talk to Master Sergeant Al Despy. Stay with us.
The pressure can be heavy. That pressure of knowing. Knowing that I'm not liked.
Is it right?
Knowing that I'm talked about behind my back.
Gosh, she's so ugly. God, she's just like a big. Oh my God.
I am.
Only
Yes.
one can change all of that. Being a friend is a big deal.
Do it. Make it happen for someone else.
Advocate for one. Advocate for two.
The number really doesn't matter.
So what do I look at? I look at you.
You have the power to change
I
your life
believe
by
you
showing
look at
yourself
me.
friendly.
These here. You look at
A message from
I say
WFBNN.
hi to all my fans.
The pre-
You got your own show now.
I guess so.
This is every day, every class. I can't bring myself to focus. It's strange, almost like I'm non-existent. Who am I? Alone, I stand by myself in fear of life because, to me, I don't exist. I feel like I'm falling into a trap, drowning in my own sorrows. I'm beginning to wonder myself if anyone else even sees me. Am I even real? I've heard people say you have to prove yourself friendly to gain a friend. I'm friendly, but I'm not seen. If I died, who would miss me?
I would.
There are needs throughout our schools.
There are needs in this community.
Families need shelter.
Our parks need our help.
Live united
Pledge today to help invest.
Advocate.
and unite our communities.
Live united.
Hi, Jay. Pass. It's not even funny now. Let me just get his number.
Don't drive intoxicated. This message has been brought to you by FBHS's Winglight Productions.
Welcome back to this special edition of WFBNN. With me now is Master Sergeant Al Despy. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
Oh no, I was much too young to be drafted. I enlisted in the military. Yeah, I did.
Were you living at the time?
Where was I living?
Yes, where were you living
in
at the
Philadelphia,
time? Sorry.
Pennsylvania, my hometown, Philadelphia.
Why did you join?
Oh, for many reasons. One of the reasons I wanted to join was to travel the world. I wanted to get out of my city and see what the world was all about and experience different cultures and customs and you name it.
Why did you pick the service branch that you joined?
Well, for a number of reasons. I talked to numerous relatives of mine and I just kind of asked around about the different branches of service, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. And the biggest influence was one of my uncles who's now deceased. He was Air Force, and he told me, well, if you go in the military, you might as well join the intelligence branch. And I said, what is that? He said, Air Force. I said, okay. So I took that in consideration. So he was the one that kind of really persuaded me to go to the Air Force. But I did talk to the other branches of service as well. So Air Force was my final decision.
Okay. Do you recall your first days in service?
You talking about like boot camp for training? My first days there in training, I do.
Everything.
Oh, yeah.
That, as soon as you got there, what
You
did
want
you
to know
do?
how I felt?
How did you
Nervous.
feel?
Very nervous. Yeah. Because you didn't know what to expect, really.
Right.
You know, you hear things, but it's nothing like actually experiencing the event while you're there firsthand. So I was very nervous.
Tell me about your boot camp and training experiences.
Our boot camp for the Air Force is Lackland Air Force Base, which is located in San Antonio, Texas. And my experience, or what I thought it would be like a very hot type of visit because of the time of the year, sort of. And I always heard Texas is very hot. But I got there several days after Thanksgiving, and I ain't going to say what year. But when I got there, it was in the evening, and it was actually pretty cold. So we were standing in formation, waiting to start training to receive our instructors. And I remember vividly that night, we're standing there waiting to get instruction, and I'm just shivering. I was shaking like a leaf. It was so cold. So I said, wait a minute, this is Texas. I thought it was hot in Texas. But it was pretty cold in the evenings. In the daytime, it was quite warm, though.
Do you remember your instructors?
Tech Sergeant Mashaw and Staff Sergeant Janecki. I'll never forget them. And that's been many years ago, and I still remember those guys.
Now, you mentioned that it was very cold. How did you get through that?
Well, I don't like to fail, you know, so regardless of whatever they was going to put us through mentally, whatever torment they was going to put through, a torture or training, I said to myself that I'm not going to fail because I didn't want to go back home a failure. I wanted to be a success. So I don't care if it was hot, cold, or indifferent, I was going to make it. So that's how I got through it, just mental toughness.
Okay. What was your job or assignment?
My first assignment in the Air Force, I was a ground radio operator. I was stationed in Clark Air Base, Republica ng Pilipinas. Okay, that was in, again, many years ago. I was part of a communications group. So I sort of done somewhat like you did, but I was basically radios.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
If there was peacetime casualties, because at the time I went in, there was no actual war that I was involved with, no. So no casualties there. But peacetime, there was, you know, situations that happened from time to time.
Tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences.
Oh, wow. Basic training. That was definitely a memorable experience. If you've never gone through that type of process, there's something you never forget. So when you ask me about my instructors in boot camp, I remember them vividly. I know their names. I still see their faces. If one of them were to walk in this room right now and I didn't see him, because I can't see with the lights anyway shining, and I heard the voice, I would know his voice, or either one of those guys' voices. So that's very memorable. And also my first experience going to Southeast Asia. I lived there 3 years, my first assignment. That was something I'll never forget. It was beautiful, very beautiful.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Oh yeah, many I have. You know, when you go through the process and you keep your nose clean, so to speak, and you do your job, things normally happen through time, you know, good conduct, and you know, I've received meritorious service medals and achievement medals and so on and so forth. But yeah, quite a few.
How did you stay in touch with your family?
When I was overseas?
Yes, sir.
Back then we had something called a DSN, which is a Air Force or military kind of a network where you can actually make phone calls to a unit. I was actually calling a reservist unit in Philadelphia, calling them from my phone line in the Philippines, and they would actually connect me for free to a landline or commercial landline to my family. So I was able to talk to my family probably on average about maybe once every 2 weeks.
What was the food like?
It was great. Food was great. Ate really well. It was very inexpensive because I was on an island, or one of the islands that comprise the Philippines. A lot of fresh fish and vegetables, and actually some of the experiences I had with eating is a whole nother story, because I never knew vegetables and fruit tasted like that, because, you know, it wasn't sprayed with insecticides or anything like that, so it was like getting it organic basically. So it was very delicious. It was a great time.
Did you have plenty of supplies?
As far as like clothing and things that I need there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah, most definitely. When you go to a military installation, the U.S. government take care of you. You know, everything on the base, if you choose to, if you didn't want to go out on the economy or anything, you can stay on the base the whole time, which I think is sort of silly and a waste of time, but everything you need is contained right on the base. You know, you get everything you need. You don't have to be concerned about anything, but from time to time, you may have family members you contact, and they may send you what we call a care package. They may send you something from back home that you normally don't get over there, which is always a pleasure. But yeah, I had plenty of things there.
Did you feel pressure or stress?
All the time. When you do your job in the military, one thing I can say about the military way of life is that when they teach you or train you to do a job, it's sort of like a crash course. They want you to learn fast and quick so you can get right on the job and start producing. So you're always under, you know, some sort of pressure to do well and perform well. So you always feel that. So with that feeling, you're going to be forced to do really good.
Was there something special you did for good luck?
Something special I did for good luck? No, not that I can say I did. I just think I just did my job, and yeah, I'm not really much on good luck and all that sort of thing.
How did people entertain themselves?
Oh, wow. Various different ways. Again, with the base being overseas and we being the guest of the host country, There's a number of things you can do. They had different recreations you can do. Everything basically stateside, they had it over there too. You can play golf if you're into golf. They had different recreational and team sports. I played different sports when I was over there, you know, basketball, flag football. You can do tennis, swim, whatever you can think of is there. Same thing basically. So entertain yourself the best way you can.
What did you do on leave?
Go home, went back home and just spent time with family, because I didn't go home on leave my first tour until 2 years. I was overseas 2 years before I went home. I was having so much fun. So when I went back home, it was like a culture shock coming back into America, because it's so different, you know. So just time with family.
When you say different, what do you mean different?
The lifestyle. In America, coming from Southeast Asia, it was a lot faster. Everybody walks faster, talk faster, the cars, everyone's driving fast. Whereas when I was over there, because of the climate, it was warm all the time. People wore t-shirts and shorts and flip-flops all day long, and they just kind of, you know, take their time as they do things. They don't rush through anything. Okay. So it was different.
Thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
Anything for our country. Thank you.
When we come back, another one of our great staff members from the branch. Welcome back to our special edition of WFBNN. Joining me now is Officer Candidate Suzanne Lentz. Hello, Miss Lentz.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to have you here. Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted in 2011.
Okay. Where were you living at the time?
I was in Georgia, here.
Why did you join?
I joined for several reasons. The main reason was, when I look back on my life, I want to be proud of the things that I've done, and leading our soldiers in the military as well as educating our youth are two things that I think that are very special and close to my heart, and I think I'll be proud about what I've decided to do with my life.
Why did you pick the service branch you joined?
I picked the Army National Guard because I had already gone through college, and I wanted to be able to keep my civilian career as a teacher. And the Army National Guard allows me to do that because my obligations are 1 weekend a month and then 2 weeks during the summer. So it works out perfectly with being a school teacher. So I get to have the best of both worlds, being in the military and teaching.
Do you recall your first days in service?
I do. Some of my first days would be going to basic training, and those are hard to forget. I was very nervous. You don't really know what to expect, but after a while, you know, you get used to it, and it's definitely a lifestyle.
Tell me about your boot camp and training experiences.
Basic training was fun. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I went through when I was 27, I think, so a little bit older. I think I was the second oldest female there. So having a little bit of life experience definitely helped, especially with the separation from my family. But it was a lot of learning, and definitely just learning that lifestyle is different. It's physically and mentally challenging, which is why I joined.
Do you remember any of your instructors?
I do. I remember both of my drill sergeants. Great guys. They were my age, which was actually a little bit funny having somebody my age yelling at me. But they were great instructors, and we definitely learned a lot from them.
Do you remember arriving and what it was like?
Yeah, I went to Fort Jackson, so we arrive on this big Greyhound bus, and you show up at a reception site where they do all your paperwork and you get all your shots, and I just remember arriving and just being completely clueless and having no idea what was going to happen, and But the people there, they pretty much take away your right to decide anything. They tell you everything you have to do. So once you realize that and just let them direct you, everything goes smoothly.
What was your job or assignment?
Well, right now I'm going through officer candidate school, so I don't have an MOS or a particular job. Once I commission next year in August, I will be assigned a branch, and that's based on what the state needs. And I'm hoping for military intelligence. If I don't get that, I'm hoping to get CBRN, which stands for chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear.
Tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences.
Most of my experiences are training related. I would say one of the things I remember is definitely the gas chamber. That was one of the things I was most nervous about going to basic training, was how I was going to deal with being exposed to the gas. And you know, when the time came, you do what you have to do, and it was miserable, and lots of sights I don't really want to remember of people getting sick. But I made it through. And also throwing grenades. That was really intense. I did not realize how powerful grenades were until I actually threw one, so that was a little scary to me.
Do you feel pressure or stress?
Definitely. Especially going through a leadership school like Officer Candidate School, they stress you to the max because they want to see if you're going to buckle under the pressure, because you're going to be in charge of 50 people's children and your soldiers, and you got to make sure that you lead them in a way that's you're going to accomplish the mission and you're going to bring everybody home safe. So that's extremely stressful, knowing that that's one of your responsibilities. But yes, the training is stressful.
Was there something special that you do for good luck?
Not really. I don't really have any of those kind of superstitions. When I went to training, I took pictures of my family, and I would frequently remind myself of why I was there. I was there because I want to be a soldier, and knowing that helped get me through a lot of the hard times.
Did you make any close friendships?
I did. Through Facebook, I'm still friends with a lot of people that I went to basic training with. And being in Officer Candidate School, I'm in a class with 13 or 14 future officers in the Georgia Army National Guard. So we're going to be working really close together for most of our careers. So yeah, they're pretty good friends.
Okay, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you
for your service.
You're welcome, my pleasure.
Up next is Miss Regina Goodman. Stay with us.
The pressure can be heavy.
That pressure of knowing. Knowing that I'm not liked.
Knowing that I'm talked about behind my back.
Gosh, she's so ugly. God, she's just like a big. Oh my God.
Only one can change all of that. Being a friend is a big deal.
Do it. Make it happen for someone else.
Advocate for one. Advocate for two.
The number really doesn't matter.
You have the power to change a life by showing yourself friendly. A message from WFB-NN.
This is every day, every class. I can't bring myself to focus. It's strange, almost like I'm non-existent. Who am I? Alone, I stand by myself in fear of life because, to me, I don't exist. I feel like I'm falling into a trap, drowning in my own sorrows. I'm beginning to wonder myself, if anyone else even sees me. Am I even real? I've heard people say you have to prove yourself friendly to gain a friend. I'm friendly, but I'm not seen. If I died, who would miss me?
I would.
There are needs throughout our schools.
There are needs in this community.
Families need shelter.
Our parks need our help.
Live united.
Pledge today to help invest. Advocate.
And unite our communities.
Live united.
Well, first, what you want to know? Look at that. Professional. I like to play football.
You're going to see him play on Saturdays, Mondays, Sundays. He a great athlete, wide receiver, DB, he do it all.
A show all about you here at the ranch.
Hey, Fee. I mean, I feel good because, you know, everybody watching you and you get to make big plays. It made me darker, don't it?
A day in the life of, only on Flowery Branch News Network.
I'm in AF JROTC, and we just joined this year because it's the first year they had it.
A show all about you here at the ranch.
What up? After high school, I plan on going to the Marines, and that's just, I mean, people were just telling me, you know, ROTC's fun, so I was like, why not?
A day in the life of, only on Flowery Branch News Network.
Edition of WFBNN. I'm here with Miss Regina Goodman. Hello, how are you doing today?
Okay.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
Enlisted.
Where were you living at the time?
Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Why did you join?
The biggest reason I joined was the GI Bill, so I could go to college.
Why did you pick the service branch that you joined?
Because my husband was in the Army at the time, and we wanted to stay together.
Do you recall your first days in service?
It was just getting on the trains, the buses, getting there, and wondering what was going to happen.
Do you remember boot camp or training experiences?
They were harsh. I mean, and they were very different. I mean, not too many people get to lay in the woods and have dirt thrown on you and told not to move, or it's not just you that gets in trouble, it's your whole platoon that gets in trouble. And you get to lay there and watch the spiders and bugs crawl on your friends and other people, and you know they're on you, but you don't move.
Do you remember your instructors?
No, I don't.
Do you remember arriving and what it was like?
Overwhelming. Yeah, it was definitely overwhelming. You're such a small part in such a big operation.
Do you remember your job or assignment?
Which one?
The assignment that you had when you got to the base or when you were in action?
My first assignment was at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I was one of the first females in the Green Berets, so I got to wear the Green Beret. And that was kind of fantastic because my husband was in the 82nd Airborne Rangers and he had a Maroon Beret and they were like arch enemies. So we had lots of fantastic discussions and competitions.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
My unit didn't go, it was towards the end of the Vietnam era, and my unit didn't go to Vietnam. We were stateside.
Tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences.
Good or bad? Or
whatever
both?
you'd like to share.
One of the most memorable was, I guess, the family. Everybody's a family in the military. And just remembering that through the years, the first time I ever suffered culture shock was when I was out of the military and went to a small town. Then I understood culture shock. Whereas in the military, if you leave at one point, you know you're going to see them again somewhere along the line.
Right.
So that's it.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
No. I mean, I had the normal ones with time and grade and stuff like that, but no.
Did you feel pressure or stress?
All the time. Going to Fort Benning, Georgia. I was in with an infantry unit there. I was in the admin part of it. But the colonel at the time decided that everybody on post that was in the military was going to run 5 miles every Friday and do a 25-mile road march every 3 months. And I hated that with such a passion. But I did it. I only had to do it once, then I was ready to get out.
Was there something special that you did for good luck?
No.
Where did you travel while in the service?
Started at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then went to Louisiana, Fort Polk, Louisiana, and Germany, and then back to Fort Benning, Georgia.
Did you make any close friendships while in the service?
Yeah, several, but I haven't kept up through the years with but one person, so that's a loss.
Do you recall the day that your service ended?
Oh yes, it was party time. I was so glad it was over.
What did you do in the days and weeks after that?
Got my applications into several colleges and started the rest of my life.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today.
Okay.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Without the hard work and sacrifice of our veterans, our country would not be where it is today. We thank our staff members for serving and appreciate all that they have done. This brings us to the end of our special edition of WFBNN. I'm Kyra Isaacs.